prepared, and we are ready to accept and meet up all of the various heads of government, heads of state, heads of government who are coming here. We will have a total of 21 heads of state, heads of government, plus the Secretary General of the United Nations. Thus far, we have not had any indication of anyone not coming. So as long as they have not indicated that they're not coming, we assume that they are. So we will have one guest of chair, and that's Timor-Leste. So that's 10 ASEAN member states, 8 members of the East Asia Summit, and 2 others who are celebrating the 40th anniversary of ASEAN collaboration, and that is ASEAN EU and ASEAN Canada. So both the president of the economic community plus the Prime Minister of Canada are also expected to arrive here. Other than that, I think, pretty much everything is set. Most of all, our security elements are really on their toes because that is the one area that we cannot really prepare for 100%. So we keep on trying.
Okay.
I'm open to questions. Thank you.
MPC questions? Rose Novenario to be followed by Maricel Halili. Microphone please, Frank. Sa likod. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, sir. Sir, ano po yung recommendation nyo sa security cluster sa pagtataas po ng red alert po ba, heightened alert po ba during the summit po or before and after the summit?
It will be the highest alert. Red alert is, as far as I know, is the highest now, but even with just red alert, it will be even higher than that. All of the security elements within the areas of where the leaders will be on full security alert. However, the whole country will also be on alert because we would not want anything happening anywhere in the Philippines during those days. So as far as security is concerned, it will not only be those elements that are here in the Metro Manila area as well as Pampanga and Bulacan, but everywhere else. All police stations, all armed forces camps, all other security agencies, including Coast Guard, etc., will be on full alert.
Thank you po.
Thank you po. Right.
Maricel Halili, TV5, Ace, paabot ng microphone. Salamat.
Hi, sir. Good morning. Sir, will there be any bilateral meeting or side meetings during the ASEAN Summit?
There will definitely be bilateral meetings. As far as I know, there will be one bilateral visit, meaning one of the attendees to the summit will stay on for a so-called bilateral visit to the Philippines. There will be, I would presume, a good number of bilateral meetings between and amongst the various different leaders who are coming in here, but mostly from the dialogue partners. They will want to meet with each other or with ASEAN leaders. So we have provided bilateral meeting rooms at PICC, at Sofitel, at Soler, because we expect, just like in the 30th summit in April, there were about close to a dozen bilateral meetings between and amongst members of the ASEAN member states.
How about, sir, with President Duterte specifically?
Yes, exactly. With the president, there have been several requests, but we have put everything in abeyance because, except for the bilateral visit, which is being considered after the summit, primarily because the president is chair. and as chair, he cannot leave the meeting. Many of the bilateral meetings are held during coffee breaks, before the actual meetings, or after the whole meeting process. And it is normal that bilateral meetings extend all the way to 10, 11 in the evening, primarily because that's about the only time that they have. In the case of the president, I do know that there are already 2 bilateral meetings within the meeting proper itself. Unfortunately, I cannot divulge this because until there is confirmation from both sides, we cannot say.
Okay.
Yes.
But at least may we know, sir, which countries requested for meeting with the president, and included po ba dito si US President Donald Trump?
Yes, quite a number. Many. It is expected that all the dialogue partners would want to pay a call on the president separately on a bilateral basis, even while they will be meeting, the president will be meeting with them as a group or individually during the meeting proper. But on a bilateral basis where they will discuss issues between the 2 countries, and that's the full bilateral, that's the bilateral meeting. Right now, I think there are 4 or 5. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you.
Raymond Tinasa, Bombo Radio.
Hi, sir.
Yes.
Good morning. Sir, just to clarify, where will be the exact venue of the ASEAN leaders and related summits? Will they be in PICC or there will be other meetings in Clark?
Okay. There will be meetings in Clark. The preparatory meetings will be held in Clark, and that's the Committee of Permanent Representatives and the senior officials meeting, the senior economic officials meeting, and the RCEP. RCEP is related something. Too many acronyms, but anyway, there will be 3, 1 preparatory meeting of the permanent representatives and 1 of the senior officials meeting, the political and the economic. Then they transfer here, the meetings transfer to Manila. The ministerial meeting will be held here, as well as the summits.
So,
Yes.
kumusta naman po yung, I understand you conduct regular briefings to the president, especially, I understand this would be the first time that he will be hosting the East Asia Summit.
Yes. There have been briefings for him, on particular issues, I think. But there will be a full briefing full series of briefings starting next week.
Sir, meron kasing nabanggit on a recent speech si Pangulo Duterte na bantay kayo, yung sa EU, US, doon daw sa Asian Leaders Summit. So, what's your feel or any anticipation when the meeting of ASEAN and European Union, considering his recent words against the EU?
I am sorry. I cannot make any comment on that, no, because again, there are quite a number of issues on the ASEAN side. There are issues on the bilateral side. For ASEAN, he will only be, as chair, acting as the convener. And therefore, many of his views representing the country are usually conveyed during the bilateral meetings or during the side meetings or what they call the pull-aside meetings. So, you see, there's a difference between him giving a statement when he's a member of the group and somebody else chairing, in which case he can express the country's views. But when he is chairing, it's a totally different hat he's wearing. He is wearing the hat of representing all of ASEAN. And therefore, his views, country views, are in a way a little bit more subtle, cannot be pushed as much as he would have been able to push if he were sitting as part of the meeting rather than as chair. So we have to distinguish the 2 roles that the president will have. On a bilateral basis, yes, he can espouse the full country positions. In during the ASEAN summit itself, where he's chair, he must be seen as neutral and trying to arbiter and put things together.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Question, MPC? Sir, clarification lang daw if isang US ang nag-request ng bilateral meeting kay Presidente. Clarification lang daw.
I cannot clarify that. Sorry. But,
Okay, question, MPC. Laila Salaveria.
Sir, have any of the leaders confirmed if they will be bringing their spouses, and what are programs for them? Will Miss Hanilet Avancenia be the one in charge of them?
As of now, yes. There will be a brief 1 day, maybe half a day spouses program on the 13th. The details of which I am unfortunately not able to convey to you right now because it's still work in progress. There had been confirmations of some leaders who will bring spouses, and the confirmation is rather indirect because we asked them to submit measurements for the dress that the president and Madam will give as a gift. So if they don't send the measurements, it's a definite indication that the spouse is not attending. If they do send, then more than likely the spouse will attend. So offhand, at the top of my head, I am sorry I cannot remember all. Thank you.
Okay. Question, Tina Mendez, Philippine Star.
Good morning, sir. Last week, sir, sa high-level meeting sa ASEAN, the President said the Philippines made a good move sa South China Sea issue. And he rallied for the sharing of resources rather than continuing claims. Will he rally the entire ASEAN regarding this same?
That is still under discussions. No? In fact, many of the things that will happen during the summit will still be discussed during the preparatory meetings, meaning the SOMSHOM, which is really where all the work is done, and then at the ministerial level where the recommendations are now formalized and sent to the respective leaders. I think that is a win-win situation and solution for all, no? And which I believe will be agreed to by most leaders. Again, it is sometimes, as always, the devil is in the details, and sometimes in the details, there's one aspect that might not be agreeable to one, and because this is a consensus, it has to be thrashed out. So I say, in principle, yes, of course, that is one objective of ASEAN.
Sir, on economic sanctions na mentioned din ng Pangulo, that the ASEAN should be stronger tapos to prevent other countries from imposing ASEAN countries. Will he push that?
That is being discussed. The manner in which this is to be conveyed is usually the most difficult, the manner of conveying a particular message. No? So this is all being discussed at the level of the SOM, the senior officials. Okay.
The President will push for these two agenda.
Yes, if the President says, and that is his directive, it will be.
May we know other topics or agenda for it?
Right now, I'm sorry, I'm not the one that has all the details. No, our Department of Foreign Affairs senior official, si Yusek Manalo, would be able to reply to you in detail. Thank you.
MPC question, TV. Lenesca to be followed by Maricel Halili.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning. Sir, about economic sanctions, can you clarify what specific economic sanctions? Would it be just like the U.S. sanctions being imposed on Iran, North Korea? How do we go by this? How would ASEAN go by this? Considering ASEAN has been very firm in its non-interference stand, and yet we are considering economic sanctions. So I see a disconnect there.
Exactly. But I apologize. I cannot give you the details of that because I personally am not aware. No, someone who sits in on all of these meetings and who has a perspective of the way that things develop would be able to reply to you. I think in substance, but I think all I can say is that all of this is being discussed as of now.
Sir, another about the Rohingya, the plight of the Rohingya. Would that be on the table for the ASEAN leaders? Because considering that Suchi already spoke about it, and the international community is pressuring ASEAN to take action about it.
Another point that's under consideration. I know that one ASEAN member has had very strongly worded comments about this. As to whether it will be included in the meeting as an agenda item, all of those things are still under discussion. Yes.
Ay, last na lang po. About the president has said a lot about the European Union and about refusing aid with conditions. Are we not worried that this might send this might alienate our dialogue partners, the Philippines, the dialogue partners of the Philippines and the ASEAN as well, considering that the Philippines is the chairman of the ASEAN? So
That's why I said earlier we have to distinguish between the president being chair and the president being head of government of the Philippines. I think all of those statements were said in his capacity as head of government of the Philippines. Therefore, it is a bilateral issue between the Philippines and the EU. When he sits down as chair, he puts on a hat as ASEAN chair, and therefore those issues, if not brought up by the others, there is a way by which they do it. No? Somebody else brings it up. But since it's a bilateral issue, it will not affect ASEAN's relationship with the EU.
Sir, how about the Philippines? I mean, don't we feel that we are alienating EU? EU is not just one country. It's 28
yes.
It has 28 members.
Yes. I think the president has a point. No, if you really look at, let's go beyond delivery, let's go beyond rhetoric. The president has a point. Again, from my personal perspective, these things affect relationships when, as we move forward, policies of the Philippines change. If and when reality says, okay, the Philippines stops accepting aid and starts distancing itself from the EU, then definitely there will be the relationship between the EU and the Philippines will be affected. However, again, this is something that I cannot second guess the president. No, this is and since I am not a member of cabinet, I do not know what is being discussed in cabinet. I cannot reply to you on that. So my view is that of someone from the outside looking at and assessing the president's statement.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Marisol Halili, PB5.
Hi, sir. Sir, just quick follow-up. Sir, what will be the role of Ms. Hanilet Abansenya, meaning she'll be the official hostess?
She'll be the official hostess, yes. So in all of the so-called social events, like the gala dinner on the 12th, evening of the 12th, and the spouses program on the 13th, she is the official hostess of the president. Yes.
Okay. Ace Romero.
Yes.
Ambassador, just a background, how would you describe the relationship between ASEAN and the European Union under our watch as chairman?
Under our watch as chair, there has not been any. The issue between the European Union and the Philippines is different from ASEAN and the European Union. The ASEAN and European Union interaction has been very robust. In fact, we are celebrating 40 years, and that's why the president invited, as chair, invited the president of the EU, and so the president of the EU is coming. So I feel that the issue between the Philippines and EU on a bilateral basis will be put in the background. So that's where I say we should distinguish between the role of the president as chair and as head of government.
Thank you, Ambassador.
Okay, Raymond Tinasa.
Just a quick one, sir. Do you see any relevance of the final resolution of the Marawi conflict, considering some of the foreign jihadists or terrorists came from Indonesia, Malaysia, which are also member of the ASEAN?
Yes. If you recall, there was a immediately after Marawi, there was a trilateral meeting amongst the foreign ministers of the Philippines, Malaysia, and Indonesia. In fact, Indonesia was the one who requested it. They expressed their own concerns about some of these jihadists being nationals of their own respective countries, both from Malaysia and Indonesia. And but that's something really beyond their control. It was, in fact, in that meeting that Indonesia also said that they have quite a number of these ultra. The jihads. I cannot remember the exact term that the foreign minister used, but they do have their share of fundamentalists. Would be a better word for it. So the three countries are together sharing information so that movements of these people can be known to all the others, so that we can be proactive in terms of preventing a similar occurrence.
Okay, George Carino.
Yes.
We have Proclamation 332, but the Metro Manila Peace and Order Council has already approved 16th and 17th as No Classes Day. Okay. Are there any ASEAN-related activities to warrant the suspension on the 16th and 17th?
There are, as far as the leaders' meetings are concerned, there is no direct effect. I would like to think that this is in order to give the children, straight holidays, rather than for them to have 5 days holidays. That means from the 11th to the 15th, and then go to school on 16 and 17, and then again there's a weekend. So if they're only coming 2 days, might as well give them those 2 days so that they have 9 full days for school.
But right now, students are now trying to make up for the classes lost during storm-related suspension.
Yes.
Will the National Organizing Committee not consider talking to MMDA so that these matters can be attended?
I am sure that when they discuss this, they consulted with the Department of Education and CHED, no?
But that's prior to Proclamation 332.
Prior to Proclamation 332, they already knew that 332 will be issued, because we discussed this with them way before. When the President agreed in principle months ago, we had to inform them because for planning purposes. They did not make any announcement, neither did we. So the only official announcement came yesterday. I can only surmise that their purpose there is to allow the children to have full 9 days. And this can be There can be classes, remedial classes later on. 2 days is 2 weekends.
So it stays. It stays.
It stays, yes.
Okay.
They're well within their authority to proclaim the 2 days for school.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you.
Cedric Castillo. Pablo. Thank you.
Sir, good morning, sir. Sir, can you give us an overview of the flight logistics in Clark, and will this affect, if at all, flights in NAIA, sir?
Okay. Thank you very much. A very important question. The all arrivals and departures, in principle, will be at Clark Airport. This is on the directive of the President that no commercial traffic must be affected at the Manila International Airport. In our APEC experience, close to 450 flights were canceled, and another 200 were affected during the arrival and departure. So this is a cumulative total. The 200 were those flights who were coming in and then had to be put on hold because a leader's aircraft was coming, and therefore a quasi-emergency state was declared. And when that is declared, there are no movements, no landings, no takeoff within that time, and usually it was 30 minutes before landing. So that if there were 3 landings and takeoff every 3 minutes for 30 minutes, that meant 10 flights. Yes, 10 flights affected. So they were all just going around. And for APEC, there were 20 economic leaders who came in. There was a particular delegation whose requirement, anywhere they go, is 1 hour prior to arrival, no movement in the air and on the ground, and 30 minutes after, so it's 1 hour and 30. So you can imagine how it was. And I recall that there was a certain mayor who was affected by these flights way back when. And the mayor expressed his disgust about the traffic, etc. I think he had to walk some distance to get to his car. So that mayor became president. So he said, okay, we will host, but do not affect traffic. Because truth is, we unfortunately, during that time, there were, again, security considerations, and therefore the timings of landing, etc., we cannot determine. This is at the convenience of, and usually because that is what their schedule requires, of leaders coming in. So when they come in, we declare the quasi-emergency. So in answer to your question, the President said, let's not affect traffic in Manila. Therefore, all the arrivals will be in Clark.
So it is expected, sir, that NAIA flights will not be affected at all?
That's correct. Now, traffic to NAIA may be affected a bit. But what we are now doing, like what we did in the 30th ASEAN Summit in April, is a stop-and-go scheme. In other words, when the leaders are moving, 15 minutes before or a few minutes before they are expected, we close so that the leaders' motorcades can pass unhampered. As soon as they pass, we open again for public use. This is really because when leaders move, it is very difficult to secure if other vehicles are also moving. There is no way for us to tell which are bona fide, just vehicles running and people with ill intent. And therefore, the best way to resolve that issue, because we don't have enough roads, is to close the road when they are moving. Okay.
May follow, Cedric? According to George Carino, paano naman daw po yung mga flights dun sa Clark?
Okay. Flights in Clark, there are fewer flights in Clark, commercial flights, than there are here, of course. But even then, we are already talking to the those airlines there that will be affected, and on how to resolve the issue. As much as we can, we will try not to affect their flights. Okay, so we also have them in mind. Again, choice of X number of flights here, and about a tenth of this number in Clark. I mean, it'll be easier to resolve the issue with
Sir?
Clark.
Okay na, George.
Quick follow-up lang. Sir, sa Clark po, how many flights are anticipated to be affected?
I did not. I don't have an exact account. I'll get back to you on that. But it's in my estimation, it's nowhere near the 450 flights and the 200 that were canceled here. Maybe 50 in total. Again, may I just say that I will get back to you on that, because there are now domestic flights flying to Clark, and there are quite a number of international flights as well, coming from Dubai, coming from Singapore, and Korea. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Cedric. Laila, you have a question? Okay na? MPC? Okay na? Thank you. Thank you, Ambassador Marciano Paynor Jr.,
Yes.
Presidential Spokesperson, Ernesto.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, sir. Thanks.
Other aspects? On student fare discount. Students can now avail fare discount all year round starting this Saturday, October 28th. The Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board released a memo circular which allows students to avail 20% discount Monday to Sunday, including summer breaks, legal and special legal holidays. The student discount, however, does not cover postgraduate students, including those taking up medicine, law, master's, and doctoral degrees. We appreciate the message of U.S. Defense Secretary Jim Mattis, recognizing the valiant efforts of our troops in bringing to an end the Maute terrorist group's siege in Marawi City. The government is grateful for the U.S. government for helping us defeat the ambition of the Islamic State-affiliated group to establish a caliphate in our country by providing us with technical expertise, men and equipment that bolstered the capability of our military in our campaign against the Maute group. While we have defeated the Maute group here, it cannot be denied that IS remains a global threat. It is therefore necessary for us to continue our cooperation and alliance with our friends in the international community to halt the spread of the IS menace. On the resignation of COMELEC Chairman Andres Bautista, the Palace has accepted the resignation of Commission on Elections Chairman Andres Bautista effective immediately. As an independent commission, the COMELEC will resolve among its remaining commissioners as to who will be its officer in charge until such time as the President appoints the new chair. On the launching of Tapang at Malasakit Alliance for the Philippines. The launch of Tapang at Malasakit Alliance for the Philippines is a gathering of the President's supporters from across sectors. The landscape has been dominated recently by political noise, and Davao City Mayor Inday Sara Duterte thought it was time for the voices of the President's supporters to be heard and reach out to other communities who share the same vision for genuine change. It is also a good opportunity to renew people's pledge for a better country and their commitment to be better citizens. On the EU Annual Report on Human Rights and Democracy in the World in 2016. We take note the EU Annual Report on Human Rights and Democracy in the World in 2016 for acknowledging the efforts of the Philippine government in walking the extra mile for peace, particularly in what EU described as the new momentum provided to the Mindanao peace process. The report, however, the report likewise stated the Philippines' very high ranking on gender equality ratings and EU's full support in the full implementation of the Responsible Parenthood and Reproductive Health Act, which the President included in his 10-point socioeconomic agenda. In addition, PRRD signed Executive Order Number 12, which aims to attain and sustain zero unmet needs for modern family planning. While the report discussed significant gains, it likewise mentioned what it called a serious deterioration in respect for the right of life and so forth. It cited the war on drugs and the prevailing culture of impunity on human rights defenders and media workers. We note, however, that the EU's report covers the period of last year's elections, and many of its alleged findings are a rehash of criticisms aired by the political party whose candidate lost to the president. The allegations that the EU report highlights were made way before the Philippines' third cycle Universal Periodic Review, UPR, by the UN Human Rights Council in May this year. The Philippine government has already responded to these allegations during the said UPR, the report of which was unanimously adopted by the UNHRC last month. Again, for the public's continuing awareness, we reiterate that the Philippines is investigating allegations of drug-related killings, extrajudicial deaths, and media violence to ensure the accountability of perpetrators. It has to be underscored that all the drug-related deaths arising from legitimate police operations have been done based on rules of engagement. Thus, while these people remain as suspects, their violent resistance against police officers whose lives were put at risk are considered actionable offenses, and congressional hearings were convened to look into these allegations that have proved that the state does not sanction wanton and unjustified killings. Impunity does not have a place in this administration. On the draft case against former DOTC Secretary Abaya, former DOTC officials and beauty, the filing of draft charges against former Secretary Joseph Emilio Abaya and other officials from the then Department of Transportation and Communications over an allegedly anomalous deal with Metro Railway Transit Maintenance MRT3 maintenance provider Busan Universal Rail is long overdue. Our people, however, especially the long-suffering commuters of MRT, would experience daily train breakdowns during their travel, surely welcome this development. Public office, as we often hear, is public trust. Let this be a good reminder to all public officials to perform their official functions with competence, integrity, and compassion, for they are accountable in all their action. Similarly, let this be an opportunity for the Office of the Ombudsman to show its true independence in fighting corruption in the corridors of power. We're open to a few questions.
Question? Laila Salaveria. Ace Romero, paabot ng microphone.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, the EU report actually mentioned that the rights situation deteriorated in the second half of 2016 when President Duterte was already in power. Sir, what are we going to do about this? Since EU representatives are expected in the country, are we going to correct or clarify this with them?
As stated, we just have to, unless there is a need to do that, we'll go as stated.
Sir, how do you see this report affecting the relationship between the Philippines and the European Union?
Well, like the President has said, it may affect certain things. For example, if trade-wise, the European businessmen continue to do business with the Philippines. However, it may affect certain things like aid along those lines, but which the President has continually encouraged the people to continue to be able to deal with these matters in a more circumspect manner.
Do you expect the President to bring this up?
When?
When the EU leaders.
Um, there's no indication so far.
Question? Casey?
Sir, clarification lang on COMELEC Chairman Bautista. Meron na bang list si Presidente ng candidates na papalit sa kanya?
So far, ma'am, wala. As far as we know, they may choose their own OIC, but until such time, we don't have any indication of who he may appoint. Yes, ma'am.
Tina?
Sir, is it true that Presidential Legal Advisor Salvador Panelo is eyeing the COMELEC post?
Eyeing the COMELEC post?
Yes.
I think they should refer it to him. No, that makes it sound it's a personal ambition, but I'm not sure.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Deo de Guzman?
Sir?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Sir, sa EU lang po.
Yes,
sinabi rin po nila sa report nila that they remain concerned about the drug-related killings in the Philippines and the human rights situation in the country, but this should not be seen as interference in the country's domestic affairs. Any comment on this?
Well, that's their statement, and of course, you also need to understand that we need to make their statement, their report in context. Much of it has really been anecdotal. For example, they listen to media, basically, the media reports and alleged human rights watchers. So basically, we need to see it also in context.
So you're saying, sir, that their investigation was based on media reports and
That's
not
what they say.
and not.
That's what they say if you read the report.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
And then, with regards to the trade relations between the Philippines and
Those are
the
two
EU,
entirely separate things, you know.
yes, sir. Would it be affected by the declaration of the president that the country will not accept any grants from the EU?
Well, like I said, these are two separate things. You know, the business people apparently continue to be upbeat about the Philippines. They continue to see the Philippines as a healthy economic grounds, and so we look forward to that.
Let me just be clear about this, sir. Would the president or the country accept a grant from an EU member country?
You mean bilateral?
Yes, sir.
Let me be very clear. You know, those grants that are the president is refusing are basically supposed to be aid coming from the EU as a whole, and tied to certain conditionalities. And so, I don't know about certain bilateral relationships.
Thank you, sir.
Question? Please state your name. Microphone, please. Kay Tina.
Sir, good morning. Mikael Flores po of Nikkei. Sir, related to the EU, particularly on the business climate, because if you look at the FDI data from BSP, it's actually a net outflow. I mean, for net equity capital. So, I think based on BSP data, the business climate, the data says otherwise, that the Philippines continue to be an investment destination for European companies. And also, I think the chamber also has expressed concerns over the political situation, over the political noise that that make investors take a second look into their investment decisions, especially particularly to the Philippines. So, how do you reconcile your previous statement based on these data and the pronouncement by the chamber that there are indeed concerns that the political noise are affecting already?
Concerns and actions are actually two different things. Of course, there are concerns that they continually raise because of the political noise that certain parties in their community make. However, they themselves apparently see this is based on. I cannot specifically refer to anyone now, but even as what's his name, the Secretary of the Department of Trade has indicated that they continue the outlook continues to be upbeat. You know, it's just a question of translating and being able to take action on the actual implementation. There are other factors, you know, regarding the actual investments. There are other factors that need to be considered, but as per outlook, it continues to apparently to be upbeat.
Okay. Marisa Laliri, TV5.
Hi, sir. Good morning. Sir, aside from the report of EU, there's SWS has released yesterday, I think, another survey saying that the skepticism, public skepticism, has grown with in terms of the statement of PNP about the nanlaban. What can you say about that, sir?
It's worth noting that surveys are snapshots of the public mood at a given time, and we need to go back to the fact that that particular report that you have a hold of is actually still part of that large survey that was done during that particular time, just after the National Day of Protest. Okay, and we need to understand that the Day of Protest was a bold initiative of the president when the people could vent actually what they felt, and some sentiments, again, like we said, may have spilled over. But given the trust and confidence of the large majority, the administration continues, of course, to work hard to address the public's urgent needs and to deliver the exact services that the people need to bring a comfortable life for all. So we enjoin everybody to set aside self-interest and together build a nation worthy of the next generation. In other words, what you're saying is that, yes, we take note, and this is, again, we remind ourselves that this was part of that big survey that was done last time, and we continue to move forward to bring about change.
And sir, following the order of the president na PIDEA na lang yung sole agency to head the anti-drug campaign, do you expect an improvement when it comes to the perception of the public of Philippine National Police?
Well, the president himself has said, let's see, let's await the results. So it's difficult to speculate on matters like these, but the president is certainly invested himself in making sure that all venues and all avenues of solutions are properly addressed.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Maricel. Cedric Castillo. Microphone.
Sir, balikan ko lang po yung EU, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, just to be clear about it, the Philippines will still be accepting aids, bilateral aids from EU members individually?
I'm not saying they will. I'm saying it may be something that it's officially. I don't think the statement covered basically the entire block. Okay, so I cannot categorically say that we will, but trade, we continue to do that.
Sir, hingi lang kami ng update po doon sa mga appointments sa DOH, DSWD. I understand parang may mga OIC pa lang sila.
Within the day. Probably within the day.
Within the day. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Question? Lanesca?
Sir, good morning po.
Yes, ma'am.
About EU, yung trade, about the trade situation. Kasi the President also mentioned about yung conditionalities na sinasabi, aid with conditionalities. He mentioned about GSP Plus kasi yun din yung they have been warnings from members of the European Parliament and some European-based non-government organizations. This GSP Plus, sir, is a trade agreement basically because it lowers the tariffs and other tax duties of Philippine export products to the Union. So are we also refusing this GSP Plus because this is this trade agreement is also
let's not confuse the two. Let's not confuse the two, okay? Iba po yung pinag-uusapan na trade, iba po yung pinag-uusapan na...
But yun nga po, sir, kasi I would like to be clarified kasi GSP is concerns trade.
Okay.
It gives our products critical access to the EU market.
Okay.
So if we are but this GSP Plus program, we enjoy this program based on our compliance on international conventions. So is this also included in the list of aid programs from the EU that
Ma'am, it's not considered an aid
refuse?
program. It will be an action from their part, whatever they may choose to, di ba? As far as I'm concerned, as far as we understand it, it's not a, tama po yun, no? It's a trade agreement. So, hindi po siya covered ng hindi po siya isang bagay na nire-refuse natin. Okay.
But yun nga sir, this trade agreement has conditions also. So kung if it's a
So-
trade agreement tas may conditions, okay lang. Tama ba?
Ang alin po?
Kung trade agreement,
Ano ba?
if it involves trade, even if there are conditions, okay lang.
Ma'am, as clarified to me by the ambassador, trade agreements are negotiated. So these are matters that are to be negotiated about.
Okay, thank you, Lanesca. Tina, to be followed by Mikael. Tina.
Sir, following Malacanang's congratulatory remarks sa victory ni PM Abe, is a trip to Japan forthcoming?
As far as I know, I have nothing official on my desk.
But there are talks of a possibility the
That should be
president going
interesting.
there.
Okay.
Before the ASEAN?
Ma'am, I
Or
cannot
if-
categorically say yes or no. Thank you.
Okay, sir.
Mikael?
Sir, related to the acceptance of EU grants, will the palace or any specific government agency issue an issuance, an order, or a related document which outlines what will be the policy in terms of accepting these kinds of grants from the EU?
These
or-
things will have to be discussed properly by the agencies concerned.
Sir, which agencies are reviewing the process? Kasi sir, I
I'm
think
sure the economic, I'm sure, the economic cluster, I'm sure it's the one that's taking the lead regarding these matters.
sir, any timeline from the government on when will they issue like clear guidelines so as to guide also these aid granting countries and as well as those receivers on how will they go about this change of policy or a shift in policy?
I cannot give you the specific date, a specific date. However, they're on top of these matters.
Okay, thank you, Mikael. Phone-in question, sir. Pasensya na po. Galing kay Leo Palo. Pasuyo daw po ang tapang at malasakit po ba ay paghahanda allegedly ng partido ng Pangulo sa susunod na halalan? Pantapat daw po sa Tindig Pilipinas.
Hindi po. Sa pagkakaindig ko po, yung pagkakasabi ni Mayor Inday, sabi niya, ito yung kumbaga magkaisa yung suporta para magampanan, ma-accomplish yung mga pinaplano ng presidente para sa bayan.
Okay, salamat po. Last two questions. Raymond Tenasa, other issue.
Sir, just your reaction sa a certain Ricky Sereno alleging former DILG Secretary Mar Rojas and Senator Frank Drilon and Mayor Mabilog in the alleged illegal drugs operations as protectors?
Wala po ako, I don't think anything, as far as I know, that thing has not prospered.
No, just what can you say that
Sir, hindi po ako nag-speculate.
somebody has came out to name somebody in the illegal drugs operation?
Sir, hindi po tayo nag-speculate sa mga bagay na yan.
He already presented his affidavit, and aren't you happy that somebody stood up, claimed to this?
Sir, ang atin, trabaho lang.
Thank you, Raymond.
Yes. Ganon din po yung inyo.
Use the microphone, Lanesca,
sige.
please. Thank you.
Sige.
I'll rephrase the question na lang po. Does this vindicate the President's pronouncement that Iloilo is one of the most shabulized
Ma'am, antayin lang natin na may talagang
provinces?
dumating kaganapan ng panahon at
Okay.
para makita natin kung talaga naman may laman yan sinasabing yan.
Okay, thank you, Lanesca. Last question, Rose Novenario.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Ay, sir, kay Ambassador Paynor po.
Ayun,
Pwedeng. May nakalimutan lang.
Thank you, President.
Ay, sir,
Yes, please.
ano po yung official na damit ng mga delegado po ng ASEAN at sino po yung napiling designer o couturier para gumawa po nito? At paano po ito pinili?
Lahat ho itong mga ito hindi ko masabi ngayon, no, dahil ang pagkakaalam ko merong grupo na gumawa ng concept ng kung ano, kasi di ba we just had APEC, then we had the 30th summit last April, ngayon new thing, no. So we've always had the barong, then last time we had the Mindanao inspired fabric. This time, yun na nga, merong inano yan. Ngayon, Who's making it? Lahat yan bidding. Nakabid yan. Kaya nga, kung minsan, yun yung mahirap. Kasi kung minsan, meron tayong gusto sanang ipalabas. Na, everything is already there. And then, when we go to the bidding process, doon nagkakaroon ng mga problema. And then, at the end, somebody else wins who does not have any idea about the concept. But because the Bids and Awards Committee, who is not part of the group that conceptualized the idea, will just look at everything that's on paper.
Okay.
So it goes to pesos and cents. And in the end, it is something that we spend on, and the objective is not met.
Okay.
Kaya ho, very difficult ito. It's a very difficult exercise. And then we have people who say, kailangan pa ba yan? Kasi ang palagi kong sinasabi, kung hindi na kailangan, wag na lang tayo mag-attend ng ASEAN or APEC or all of these other multilateral meetings. Kailangan ho, dahil one, it shows we are trying to manifest what it is that we are, our culture, etc., in dress. And if you go to the people who weave this, and it takes them months to do just one piece, you can understand why there is a premium to the cloth, etc., to the story, in fact. So yun yung mga tinitingnan ho natin na mga bagay na hindi kuminsan hindi nakikita nung procurement process natin.
Thank you. Thank you.
Salamat
Rose.
po.
Last question daw, sir. Sorry. Si Cedric Castillo. Totoo ng last question.
Sir, na-mention nyo na rin kanina, pero sir, pa-expound lang ako, sir, nung travel naman from Clark to Manila nung leaders po.
Kwento ko na lang sa'yo mamaya. Kasi please understand that movements of leaders are usually we don't want to discuss in public.
Okay.
We give you general ideas, but we do not want to go on specifics. So, but
Yung overall scheme lang, sir.
Basta, we will transfer them from here, from Clark to Manila, and that it will not affect.
Yes, sir. Yung lanes or yung what should the public expect in terms of...
Yes, okay. That's why the scheme is stop and go. When the leaders will pass through, and we already know the time, we will stop traffic a few minutes prior to, in order to decongest the lanes forward. Pagka nakadaan na, we open it up again. Ganon. Pero kung let's say sunod-sunod sila, we will hold the traffic for a while. All of these plans will be finalized perhaps on the 10th of November, when we know for sure when leaders are arriving, because they're all coming from Da Nang. 2/3 of the member of the countries that are attending the ASEAN summit and related summits are coming from the APEC summit in Da Nang. This will be a back-to-back summit. It's always been like that. If APEC is hosted here in Asia, the ASEAN host always coordinates with the APEC host. Para nang sa ganon, the leaders coming from all the way from the US, Canada, etc., when they come in here, they don't have to return and then come back again after a few weeks. Yes.
Sir, curious lang po, sino yung head of government na nagre-require ng 1 hour prior to arrival? Dapat walang movement.
Salamat, Cedric.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador
Thank you very
Marcia.
much, everyone. Thank you, and thank you for your cooperation and your collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Marciano Paynor Jr. Thank you, Presidential Spokesperson Ernesto Abella. Thank you, Malacanang Press Corps. Back to our main studio sa Radyo Pilipinas and PTV.